some of us have been designed to do all kinds of really cool things. Some of us have been designed to disappear. Yeah, because something is kind of come through us. An artist needs to disappear. A musician needs to disappear. I mean, there are a lot of creative gifts where what you do is you have to disappear. Someone says, well, how did you write that song? Oh, I don't know. Well, how did you put that painting on the thing? Oh, I don't know. What they did is they had the balls. They had the balls to look at an empty canvas and take the brush, whirl it around, put it in front. And when they put it in front of nothing, something happened.
Welcome to the Ken Van Loo Show. Ken Van Loo here, CEO of Global Real Estate Strategies and best-selling author of The Modern Wealth Building Formula. On this show, we talk about anything from raising money to building an extraordinary life, because the Modern Wealth Formula applies to real estate, business, and money. And from that, we create an extraordinary life. So if you have not subscribed to this podcast, please subscribe below and check it out every week, because we have extraordinary guests talking about building modern wealth in your life. Let's go to the show. I am proud to present Mr. Thom Black, writer, speaker, innovative strategist, and human resource pioneer. I said there's a lot to unpack with you, Thom.
See, what happens is when you live long enough, like you and I,
yeah, right.
Everything we do makes us a pioneer.
Yeah, exactly, right. But I'm not joking. I mean, you've worked for some serious companies, let alone create a 20,000 mega church in Willow Creek. But you've worked for companies like the Chicago Bears, Price Waterhouse, University of Chicago, Russ Presbyterian Medical Center. I mean, what are you, speaking of getting old there, like you're getting young in my eyes, like what's new, and tell us a little bit about what's happening before we dive in.
Well, thank you for having me on this show.
And don't forget to tell people where you grew up, because I got a little, we're going to show a picture of that in 1 minute. Matter of fact, let's show it right now.
I came from very high and lofty expectations.
Yeah, I could see that.
You'll see in a minute. I was born in East St. Louis, Illinois, about almost 70 years ago. So East St. Louis has since become the most dangerous town in America. But back then, it just was a hole in the wall. And so we lived back at my grandma's house for about 5 years. I thought this picture kind of gives people an idea. Guys like you and I, we can come from any place.
Oh, you're not kidding.
Any place. Well, if that ever gets up, I'll come back to it. But,
yeah, well, I'm gonna. What is I actually brought it up on the screen, and I pipe it into the recording, you could actually talk to it.
Perfect. Well, you can see it with a Taj Mahal.
Yeah, exactly. I love the front door. I think, and I appreciate sharing.
My dad was in law school, believe it or not, and my mom was an immigrant from Italy. And so we lived in the back of my dad's mom's house, my grandma. And my early days, we lived there till I was about 5. My early days was spent going up on the railroad tracks. There were railroad tracks about, on a little hill right behind my grandma's house. And Billy was my uncle, who was 2 years older than me. And so Billy would be given money from my grandma, his mother, to go to the local little convenience store. They had a screen door on it. And we'd go down and we'd get money and we'd get food for her or something. And then Billy would always buy a couple of packs of cigarettes. This is when he was like 7. Okay. I was 4 or 5. Billy was 7. And so he would bring the food back, and then Billy and his friends would go up on the tracks to smoke. But they had to take me because I would tell on them. So at 4 or 5 years old, I was up on the track smoking with Billy, but I want you to think about this, today's world, if your child is 3 feet away from you, 400 alarms go off, your eyes start bulging out, you and I grew up at a time when we disappeared in the morning. And we're up smoking cigarettes on a tracks at 5 years old. Oh my gosh, the train is coming because we can feel the thing. So we hop off the train and don't. But I mean, you and I grew up in the
We have,
jungle of the world.
do you remember we have so much in common? Don't you remember putting the penny on the track and then
Oh yes,
thinking that it may derail the track? We used to smoke near the creek on the tracks,
yeah,
steal cigarettes from dad, and I missed the Italian heritage. So you must eat a lot of pasta on Sundays too, right?
brilliant.
Yeah.
And I got really dark skin.
Did you?
In fact, when I get so dark in the summer, all my
Really?
grandkids, I got a ton of grandkids, and they thought I was black up until
No
time,
kidding.
9 or 10. They point to people who are black, with black skin in the newspaper. Oh, Papa, no, no, no.
Yeah, my grandparents were from Ischia, little island near Naples, Ischia.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. My mom was from Naples.
There you go, right around the corner.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about, your dreams and aspirations. Dad was in law school, living behind grandma's. I could see it. Grandma would always like slip us to 5. We'd go to the little convenience store down the road. I remember the Screen Door in Brooklyn, same thing. But, how did you become who you are today? Like leading,
Oh my God.
leader, I know it was a long journey, and 6 grandkids and living,
No, I got
a dream
11
life.
grandkids. I got grandkids who are a year and a half old, and I have grandkids who are graduating college. So I just, like this. I married the girl who had the locker next to me in high school. So her name was Brown, my name was Black. And so I remember when she walked into my class, as a sophomore. I'm thinking that's a piece of work right there. I love her, and I get that. Well, she wouldn't talk to me for 4 years. So, and then back then, I was a jock, you were probably a jock, and so we didn't date a lot. And so, I just thought she was a cool person. Chased her through college, finally got her to marry me, and we've been married for 46 years.
Mm.
So, and then I got kids. I got 2 daughters who live a couple miles from me. They have 6 children under 7 between them with their husbands, and so that's a blast. But come on, I think you and I, we talked enough to know that that we're here not because of what we did right, but because of what we did wrong.
You can hit that nail on the head again. Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
I mean, how many things do you think if someone says, "What are the 5 worst things that happened to you?" You go, "Well, this wasn't good. This wasn't good. Blew this up." And if they said to you, if you had a chance, would you cut that out of your life if you had a chance? And then you look back and you think, but so much came out of that
Mm.
I could. And so it's really weird to get at this space in our lives where it takes on the gravity of everything that happens in our life, as much of it not intentional.
It's so true. I mean, you probably know the book, but I think it was something to the effect everything happens for a reason, because for so many years I call it racket, like a racketeer, always complaining about something that you think was happening to you when in reality it was happening for you, and here you look back 5 years later. If that didn't happen to me, if the World Trade Center, didn't happen, I would not have the tough skin and big shoulders that I have today. I mean, you probably had several of those events,
What did that? I mean, did your life change after the Trade Center?
Did it change? I was going to ask you the same question. I would say it was probably one of the biggest pivots we had to make, because it was unexpected, and then the anger behind it, thinking that there were a lot of people behind, sleep at the switch, and then, losing friends, it was, I would say, a hard time to sort things out rapidly. We were kind of, figuring out what to do. I was in a difficult spot, just because it was, I was in New York, so it was a big focus, but
So were you in New York when they actually got hit?
well, not when it actually happened, but I had projects in New York, and that basically just came to a screeching halt, and we stopped going to New York for a while. My office was in Jersey City, but we watched the smoke coming out of the Trade Center for a while. But where were you on that day, and how did it change your life? I think we briefly talked about you were signing some big deal and
So no. Actually, on 9/11, my son had just walked. My son had just walked into the house
oh, that
with
was
his
Lima.
two
Yeah.
twins,
Uh-huh.
and they're about 6 months old. And no, let me think. Yeah, but 5 months old. And he walked in with the twins. And as he walked in, we had one of those big rear projection TVs. And I was standing in front of the TV. He said, "Come over and look at this." I said, "Some moron just flew a plane inside into one of the trade towers." He goes, "What?" So he comes over, he puts the babies down, and we're both looking at it. And then all of a sudden, as we're watching it, boy, about 2 minutes later, you see this other plane come and hit the second tower. And as we're watching it, I can remember we both turned and looked at each other, and nobody had words for that moment
Yeah.
because you knew that it wasn't some idiot flying a plane into the trade tower because he's a nut, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and so we just all of us lived in a horrific not moment, but an horrific month because no one knew where it was going to stop. No one knew how far it was going to extend. A lot of us, especially you lost some very close people in that. Yeah.
And no question about it. Just happened to be where we're at in the country. I always was curious how it was viewed for someone that lives in Chicago or yeah, it was a time that things came to a stop. We had to just pause and try to help everybody in need. And, it was a learning experience to say the least. In New York, fortunately, came back. That's why, I had my head up when COVID hit. But,
Yeah.
not to change the subject, but I really wanted, to get, as I always do, tap you for the wisdom that you have, Thom. And, I never really asked this question, but can you tell me a little bit about the church and growing 20,000 people and all of that? I mean, I've had an
Yeah.
interesting journey through, I don't
Yeah.
know if I ever told you, growing up Italian, my mom said the rosary a lot, as you can only imagine, right? A lot of the Italian grandmothers would carry them, but, I was raised Catholic and, went to all kinds of churches. We're actually, at a church, but I think it's something important in life. But how do you, create such a following and just the value since I've met you? We've laughed together, we've cried together. What are some words of wisdom you could share for my audience
I
today?
mean, all I could do is share briefly my own journey. I mean, I grew up in a Catholic church like you did. I was an altar boy for 5 years. And all the stories that comes with that. And but when I got out of grade school with the high school, I think I pretty much set it all aside. And then in college, uh, uh, I had to write a paper on why there was no God in
Hmm.
one of my philosophy classes. And so I walked down the street and called the Baptist church that I'd walk by every day, going to Catholic school, because I knew they were crazy. And so I thought, hey, can I come out and talk to you about God? So a guy wanted to rip apart my paper. He said, sure. So I went out there. He tossed the Bible in my lap, started showing me things out of the Bible. Before you know it, he's asking me that old famous now, you want to accept Jesus into your life? And, oh, maybe, I don't know. So all I know is I'm standing in the back porch. I got a Bible in my hand, supposed to come to church on Sunday. It got all messed up. But that was really the first part of my life because I really did, it really did awaken to me a connectedness to God somehow. And so I thought, well, I'm going to go into ministry somehow. And then I became friends with a buddy who was starting a church. And so I got involved with that. And we started a church out of a movie theater in our middle 20s. And it grew to about 25,000 people. It was the largest church in the world. When it covered Time magazine and all that crap. And but we changed the nature of the church in America. We took the pews out, put theater seats in. We built a 7,000 seat auditorium, a grade A auditorium. We took everything off the stage and turned it into a grade A theater stage. We took the choir off, no more choir. We put a band on the stage. We took the pulpit off. took the pulpit off. Um, uh, we um, uh, we interviewed people and said, if you're going to go to, if you don't go to church and you were going to go to church because you wanted to find out more about God, why wouldn't you go?
Hmm.
They said, we don't want to give money to people we don't know. We don't want to sing songs we don't know. We don't want people to introduce us and make us stand out. We want to just come. So we designed the church around what we call anonymous spirit. And so when you came to our church, no one asked you for money. No one asked you to sing a song. No one asked you to introduce yourself. You were able to come and go. And so we put on almost an entertainment thing for them for an hour and a half. The church's numbers look like this. And before we were done, I left, when I was 30, I left. There were churches all over the United States and still today that have replaced their pews with seats.
Yeah.
That have taken the pulpits off the front, taken the choirs off the front,
Yeah.
put drama on their seat. I mean, they're copying what we did at Will.
Yeah.
When I left that, it became really, truly my real sacred journey. I think where you and I really connect. Because after standing behind pulpits and talking to people for the first half of my life, I realized that I wasn't teaching them anything but God. I was actually teaching them what I wanted them to think about God. And the more I became friends with other pastors and other people, ministries and things, I'm thinking, this is crazy. Everybody's saying something different. You can't find a Bible verse where people agree. You know what I mean? So it became very personal to me. My spiritual journey became my sacred journey, very personal. And it came down to, what am I here for? How do I matter? And is it really possible? Because you and I are big dads. We love our kids to death. We would have cut off an arm the first second we had them. We never loved them any more than when they first were handed to us. And we knew the minute they touched our skin, we knew that they could never disappoint us. And yet we stood in churches and we told people that God wanted them to become somebody different. God wasn't happy with who they were. God wanted them to change. God wanted them to die. God wanted them to die and be born a second time. And this time they were going to. Now think about that. Think about your daughter. Your daughter's getting married. Such a cool. But I was testing with her today, and I'm thinking, okay, I'll give you a very tiny piece of paper. Write down the 3 things about your daughter that you want to change. You wouldn't have one.
I wouldn't.
Are there things you might want to learn? Sure. Are there things that you wish you made a different decision? Sure. But is there anything you want to change? And not only do you not want to change them, you love it. And I mean, isn't that true?
It's so true. I mean, I was mentioning to you, I had a daddy-daughter dance lesson with my daughter, and I just looked at her as I was trying not to cry and said, "You are so beautiful." It was like at that moment, I just couldn't believe it. Like here, it's 25 years, like in a flash, and in less than 30 days, I'm going to be giving her away. So it was an interesting weekend. I'm like, I better play this song like 10 times. I'm going to be crying my eyes out. But
the thing is, you didn't grow in love with her. You loved her completely from the first second.
Oh yeah. When my twins were born, like it was like the Twin Towers, were born. It was just, I used to hold them both in my arms going, oh man, I don't know what I got myself into, and I could still feel it today. It's, that's how profound what you're talking about. I could feel touching them going, oh wow, I gotta help my wife here. She's not going to be able to, nurse feed both of these at one time. But,
so that kind of got wrapped into my journey because, it was not what I had done with the first part of my life, because I was making up a God that wasn't happy with them, didn't love them. Like I said, wanted them to change, wanted them to die, wanted them. And so I realized that if as I was drawn closer in this space, I realized that I needed to come more into this space where I could connect with the fact that whatever it was behind this actually does.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
Takes a
and,
long
and,
time to figure it out. You learned it at a young age.
well, no, I learned. I don't think I really. I don't think I really, really, really learned it until like the last. I mean, I got there in phases and phases and phases, and then I had aha moments where I learned a lot real fast.
Yeah.
You know.
Like between
Um,
55 and 60, it seemed like I
yeah,
learned
yeah, yeah.
a lot.
But at the end of the day, it became wrapped into what I do and how I manage. And so I started a company about 40 years ago, of helping people find their gifts, their passion, what it is they did, because most people don't know what they do. Their parents wanted them to do something, their teachers wanted them to do something, their bosses wanted them to do something, their spouses wanted them to do something. They walked into a church or a synagogue, God wants them to do something. They have no idea what it is they do.
That's the system discovery.
Yes, yes, yeah. So what I did for years, I worked with individuals, and we talked to them simply about what it is they love doing. And then I was able to take them an experience of introducing them to themselves, and it was just the most incredible thing. I loved it to death, because each person is its own universe,
Mm.
you know, and so I love that. And along the way, I was able to learn and understand, and then I had these profound moments. Did I told you my Santa Claus story.
You did. Yeah, you had me crying. Yes.
Uh,
I,
yeah.
it was amazing.
You want me to tell it here for the people who are listening?
Sure. Yeah, I love the story, and then I'm gonna keep you here just because I want to learn more on how. Because I wrote one. It was the hardest thing in my life. How do you write 450 books, publish 450,000 books, and partner with like the biggest monsters in the world? But yeah, let's hear the Santa Claus story first.
Well, this is this is where I think all of it blended together for me.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is only about 8 years ago,
Mm.
where I was really beat. We had a conference I had put on, and so I came home. Well, Debbie, tired. I'll go with you. I'll leave my phone here. Let's just go to Woodfield, a big mall by my house. And I said, I'll walk around with you. You got to get a coat. So let's go. She goes, you're not going to take your phone? I said, great. So we go into Woodfield. It's got 4 levels. We go to top level. We're looking down over the edge, and they just opened up the Santa Claus exhibit down at the bottom. But it's way down. You got to look way down. And there's a little thing down there, train going around. You can see the people in line. And you can see the top of the Santa. And Woodfield's it's a high rent district, right? So they get the good Santa. And as I'm looking down, with Debbie looking down, I go, gosh, Debbie, what do you think? What do you feel when you look down at Santa like that? And she goes, I don't feel anything. I said, oh. She goes, why? She goes, because I can feel him. And she goes, oh, well, I'm happy for you. I said, no, I got to go down and talk to him. And she goes, what? What are you going to say to him? What? Because I don't know. She goes, well, why are you going to go talk? You said you weren't going to do anything. And I said, but I just got to go talk. And she said, well, I'm going to go to the bathroom in McDonald's. I'll meet you right here. I'm not going down. So I take the 4 escalators down. Now I'm standing in line. There are adult elves there, And so I get up to the adult elves, and they want to know how many kids I got. I say, none. I just want to talk to Santa myself. They go, you want to talk to Santa? So they huddle up in the corner. I'm back. Okay, go into the snow globe, because that's where we have to wait with the other children to talk to Santa. So finally, another elf sticks her head. Come on out. You ready for Santa? So I come out. Now I'm standing on the red carpet. And now that last kid leaves. And so now I'm next. So I got to Santa. Somebody comes up and whispers, do you want your picture taken with him? I said, no, I don't. So so I get up to him. I'm facing him. And he's looking around me. He's sitting on his bench. And he's looking around me to see where my kids are. I said, I don't have any kids. So he looks up at me. And I can see him looking at one of the elves over my shoulder, because he doesn't know what's going on. Why am I here? And I said, I just want to tell you. Now, you know, Ken, because this happens to you. I have no idea what's coming out of my mouth. We just put ourselves in these moments, and we're along for the ride like anybody else. And so I say, I just want you to know. And I pointed up, to where I came in up there. I said, I just came in up there about 20 minutes ago. And I looked down, and the minute I saw you, I said, my heart. And I just wanted you to know, is you're sitting here with these kids all day long, having to sneeze on your face, rubbing boogers on your legs. I'm sure somewhere you're thinking, this isn't worth it. Um, but I want you to know that for some of us, you're the first person that ever told us that they loved us outside of our parents. And it never leaves us. And so I just want you to understand what a difference you're making in so many of our lives. So he's looking up at me, took a look last, like a big guy. So he bumps over and he says, here, sit down. So I sit down next to him on the bed. And I'm not quite sure now what is going to be happening. But then I look over and I realize that there are these drops. He's crying and these drops are falling all over his red velvet pants. And his head is bowed. So then I start crying. Which, Ken, for you and I, is not a high bar.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there on the bench. He's sitting on the bench, and we find ourselves in every few years, we find ourselves right in a moment where we really cry from a deep place. It's a deep place, and he's heaving these tears so high, and I can't tell you what we were crying about, but we were in a space. And then finally, he puts his hand at about a minute on my knee and says, so what do you want for Christmas? And I said, no, really, I'm good. I just needed to come and tell you what So I stood up, and then we kind of hugged each other. And then I turned to walk away because all the elves are looking at, what the man, it's out. And then as I look up, there are 4 rows of balconies. And everywhere I look, there are adults standing, looking down at the balconies at what's happening down here. Because I'm sure they have no idea. And then, of course, I can see my wife way at the top on the 4th balcony. And even from that distance, I can see her doing. So, but here's the thing. I pushed that gate open to leave, and I could see the bones in my hand. It was like something had come through. And I realized that I had gotten, as I walked out, I had gotten in between the source, wherever it is, and somebody, something the source wanted to feel that they were loved. I got in between. And so as it came through me, it left this residue in me. I mean, today, it's probably one of the top, if not the top, sacred experience of my life. And what did I do? I simply disappeared. So some of us, it's not all of us, it happens to be one of my gifts. I believe it's your gift, Some of us have been designed to do all kinds of really cool things. Some of us have been designed to disappear. Because something has kind of come through us. An artist needs to disappear. A musician needs to disappear. I mean, there are a lot of creative gifts where what you do is you have to disappear. Someone says, well, how did you write that song? Oh, I don't know. Well, how did you put that painting on the thing? Oh, I don't know. What they did is they had the balls. They had the balls to look at an empty canvas and take the brush, swirl it around, and put it in front of the nothing. And when they put it in front of the nothing, something happened. And so, and then that's a particular gift. That's why you're able to come into a space where nothing is. It's safe.
Yeah.
And you create stuff in nothingness. And if someone came up to you and said, wow, they looked at the building and said, so how exactly did you do this? The best thing that you could say truly is that you showed up.
That is, some deep stuff here. I love it.
Wow. Because you use the gifts of other people and other people's ideas and designs, and and so something.
And ask for help.
So
you can't be afraid to ask for help. So, I mean, but your achievements are beyond, and you're so down to earth. I just love you to death, brother. So how does someone actually write 500 books?
Show up,
You just show up. Interesting.
show up. We started doing this, I mean, seriously, about 7 years ago.
Mm,
You And, someone comes, they knew I'd done some books. And so, hey, can you write a book for me? I hadn't done that before, but I showed up and said, why not? Sure. And so then I've had somebody else and somebody else. And I really got excited. You know what got me most excited? I got most excited because there are lots of people with writing gifts.
mm,
And they're working at Walgreens, working at dental assistants, working for insurance companies, because there's no place to keep yourself alive writing.
yeah.
Um, and so I became very excited about building a community of writers where I could pay them enough money so that they could quit their Walgreens jobs and quit their dental assistant jobs and actually get up and do the very thing that they love to do, which is write.
Mm, wow.
So, we have like 35 or I don't know how many, 38 writers. We're hiring much more. And so that to me, the most exciting part is I've been able to release writers, into the lives of people who want books written.
Wow.
But I love every part of it. I really, really do. It's, as we've talked, that when you write a story, you have to find the story. And you have to let it tell it, reveal itself to you. You have to create covers and like I just love that part because it's out there. You just got to find it.
Mm,
So I lay awake a lot sometimes just on my phone looking at different things that people are saying. And I'm always looking for an idea. I watch TV with my phone next to me because someone will say 3 words in a phrase.
mm.
My gosh, that's a great. So I write it down, because it's just where all the stuff comes from. But I love it, and then I get to meet people like you, who are, I don't think if people don't know you, they don't understand who you are,
Mm.
and you've been one of the joy relationships I've been able to find.
Thank you so much.
This stuff, I so love you to death.
I love you too, brother. And I just wanted to ask you, so I know you are into a little bit of health, right? We talked a little bit about this, but so you said you were a jock. Were you a track runner in high school? Because I know
Yeah.
you ran a couple miles. I never took running up till late in my life.
Well, it's a funny thing how different things change your life.
Yeah.
I was a baseball player.
Okay.
Played
What
baseball.
position? What position?
What?
What position?
I played outfield.
Okay.
Played center field. When I was in college, in Chicago, it was so cold that you never went outside until April. So we would take a spring tour. We'd take a spring trip, which meant that we were going down in February, down to play teams in the southern climates.
Yes.
And so we went to play Jackson State, who, as we were taking our shoes out of our boxes and lacing them up, because we had only played in the gym, for the first month and a half,
Yeah.
we were facing a Jackson State team that was 21-3.
Yeah. And play all year around.
They play all year round. So it's 21-3, and I wanted to stay active when we were in the gym, so I would catch batting practice. Never caught a day in my life, but there's nothing to do if you're an outfielder in a gym, so I caught batting practice. The first inning, our catcher catches a foul ball, off his mask, breaks his nose. You don't have a backup catcher. Black, come in and catch.
I was a catcher.
Kidding me. So I walk out. I walk out to the mound on the thing. I take my 5 warm-up throws. I walk out and hand the ball to the pitcher. I do not throw down to second base because I never made it throw to second base. And I don't want anybody to see this. So the first batter,
Be stealing on you like crazy.
the first batter is the guy that everybody was chattering about, was a kid named Walter Payton.
Mm.
So Walter walks, who went on to play for the Chicago Bears.
Wow.
And so Walter walks, and then sure enough, first pitch he takes off for second base. And so they throw the ball down at second base. Ball was about 80 feet over the second baseman's head. And so Walter keeps going around second, coming around third. And the last thing I remember about the game is me reaching for the ball. It's Walter was trying to score. And the next thing I knew, I was on the bench and people were waving me.
Why is that?
Oh, that was my entire catching experience. Not even a third of an inning. It's funny though, because
So good.
when you learn life's lesson, because I was a very average runner, and
Okay.
first year, second year, because I was only staying in shape for baseball, and then we got a new coach came sophomore year in cross country, and uh, he's there about a week or two into practice, and he gets us all together, and he said, I want you to understand this. You're running 3 miles. You don't win your race in the last mile. You win your race in the first,
Mm.
because everybody, this is so, I mean, he says, everybody's running. Everybody picks up their pace. Everybody's running fast at the end. So the best you can do is make up 10, 15 yards. Really? Where you have to win your race is in the first mile. It's how you break out of the chute. It's how you start. That's where you pick up your minute.
Mm.
It completely changed me. I became an all-state runner. I mean, because I went out faster.
Mm.
And it was amazing. And then the second or third race after that, I was a fifth place runner on my team, sixth place runner. And so I was coming down and playing an invitational. We were running down the last half mile down a hill, really steep hill. And Larry's running next to us going, "Pick it up, Black, pick it up, Black." And he goes, "There are 3 guys in front of me. That's our trophy. You got to beat those guys right there." And they're like about 30 yards ahead, 30 feet ahead of me. So you're coming down a hill. I just kind of unhinged myself, and I sprinted the last 100 yards, got to the chute where you come into a chute, and I elbowed them out. All 4 of us hit the pillars, the metal pillars of the chute, ripped our arms off, and I fell into the chute first.
Wow.
And I laid on the ground and vomited for 15 seconds.
Oh, shit.
But listen, Ken, you have these moments. These are life changing, because when I got up, I didn't know there was another gear. I didn't know, because you think that when you're hurting or this, that, you think that that's their limit. You don't know that there's another level underneath that.
Oh,
So,
God. It's
so
funny.
those two things of getting it out early, winning it fast, and you know this, if you take on a big project,
Yeah.
it's not how fast you finish, it's how fast you start.
Yes.
Because you lose a month in the beginning, you never make it up.
Never make it up.
And then taking on a project that's too big for you, well, there's another gear. There's another gear for some of us.
Yeah.
And you made a lifetime of hitting that gear.
It's funny. You brought back a lot of memories. It brought me back to, my senior year in high school, winning the state championships and really
Wow.
putting it into a gear that I never thought I had. And my senior year, I had 166 tackles as middle linebacker. And I made all county linebacker, and I made all state center. We ran the shotgun offense, and I only came out of the game for one play, which was kickoff return. So on kickoffs, I was the kamikaze guy.
Wow.
My coach said, "You can line up anywhere, just go after the guy and kill him." On punt returns, I did a wahoo right or wahoo left, where I would circle back and lead the pack up the sideline, and I snapped for field goals and punts. So it was I was snapping, calling, huddle up every play. We were 10-1. We won the state championships my junior and senior year, and it was just amazing. But those were life-shattering events,
Sure.
And then
They were,
baseball,
they
also just I was an all-county catcher, leading the county in home runs, and even though I only had 4, but it was fun. But I hit a grand slam. That was good. But hey, Tom, I just want to thank you so much for spending some time and sharing. I would love. I know you have the ghost, not the company where you do ghost writing, I think, for people, help people write
they
books.
get a hold of you on that. Well, I want to say something larger than that,
Sure.
which is if someone is giving us the gift of listening to us,
Mm.
then the very best thing they can do is reach out and find some way to be in your orbit, some way to talk to you, some way to reach out to you, to connect with you, because there are very, very few people that have the gift and are authentic enough to truly make a difference in the way somebody thinks. And you're maybe one of 5 people who, if someone were to get on an elevator floor at the 30th floor, by the time they get to the bottom floor and they walk out, those 30 floors with you will have changed them. So they need to find their way to you. And anything I can ever do to serve you, be a part of your world, I just think you're an incredible person.
Oh, thank you so much. So do you, I feel the same way about you, and you actually do that the way you described it, that I do it to people. You do that to me. So, you're one of my top 5. But is there, do you want to give out any contact information where someone could reach out to you?
If someone wants to get a hold of me, let them call me and let me get a hold of you. Say, that Thom Black guy, will never have him on again. Or is there a way for me to get a hold of him? You got it. You got it. They got to go through the gatekeeper. I like that, boss. I appreciate it. But yeah, hey, thank you as always. You always touch my heart, and thank you so much for being part of my family. Honestly, my daughter's all excited, and you must have heard the telepathy, because it was that conversation happening in Connecticut and it landed in Chicago. So, the whole TV conversation. So thank you. We're at the age now where we realize, and it's become part of our consciousness, that one of us are going to be sharing some thoughts of the other one's funeral. Just where we are right now. We're getting closer to that. Yeah. And exactly. With all due respect, I hope I get to share yours. Because I have a lot of things I want to say. Well, thank you so much. I can't wait to give you a big hug next month. I call it Outrageous October for my birthday, and I get to give you a big kiss. Hey, Thom, thank you so much, man. I love you. Make it a great day, buddy. Okay, bye-bye. You too. My special guest, I want to thank you for listening today. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please take a moment. Subscribe to the Ken Van Loo Show. Put modern wealth in your life. Come next week. Keep coming. It's going to make a huge difference. I really want to thank you for listening. As always, make it a great day.